this is Lord J with the Vampire Lounge, talking to Sue Quiroz, president of the Vampire Lestat Fan Club, and one of the original founders. And she's also my boss, and I love her dearly.
And I love you too.
Well, thank you. It's mutual.
Yes.
I've got some questions here for you today for this documentary. You've been involved in the Anne Rice Vampire Lestat Fan Club for a long time.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us about how this whole journey began for you? I know the story, but the audience does not.
Okay, I can tell that to you because actually it was 4 ladies. My sister Melanie, Susie Miller, and Teresa Simmons. And we were standing in line at the Queen of the Dam book signing, and you know, we decided that we were going to make a fan club for Anne Rice. And when we got up there, we said, "Oh, Anne, we want to start a fan club for you." And Anne said, "Oh, Lestat would love to have a fan club." So we formed the fan club that night. We got about 32 names and addresses for the newsletters that we were going to send out. So that's how we started. 1988.
That was a long time ago.
It was.
What a journey it's been.
It's been a great journey.
Were you always a fan of vampire mythology, and what are your earliest memories of being fascinated by vampires?
Actually, I used to watch the old vampire movies, you know, very old ones, Nosferatu and Dracula, all of the different Draculas, you know, there were so many favorites, you know. I even watched the old Spanish ones, you know.
Yes.
So any vampire movie I loved, and The Mummy and all the other supernaturals, you know, and the werewolf movies. I've seen them all.
I know that you're mainly a lover of vampire fiction, and you like the charm of the character. Do you have any thoughts on modern day vampires, which is what we've been talking about?
Right. I think that the more mature vampires, you know, they just go through the transition much better than the younger ones, you know.
It really is kind of a curse to be 21 years old forever.
Well, I wouldn't mind being 21 again.
The 21-year-old body, but not the 21-year-old mentality.
No, no.
No offense to the 21-year-olds out there.
That's right.
Some of them are my best friends.
But would you want to be stuck in a body like Claudia's, you know, as a child?
A 6-year-old.
Who has the mind of an older woman?
A 65-year-old woman.
That's
exactly
exactly
a 6-year-old
it.
child.
And she was frustrated, you know, and it was just hard for her. She could not adapt.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Do you think Armand kind of preyed on that with her? Her insecurity?
Yes, I think so, because he knew that she was fragile.
He could use it to his advantage.
He could use it. And
Which is
he
what
wanted
Armand always does.
He wanted to take her out so he could get, you know, Louis.
Yes. That's all he wanted.
That's what he wanted. Yeah, he wanted
But
Louis.
he had a two-pronged thing with getting Louis. He got Claudia out of the way, and he took Louis away from Lestat.
Right, right.
And we all know how Armand felt about Lestat.
That's right.
Knew him well enough not to mourn his passing. You've seen the fan club go to ground. In 2000, it died. It was a sad death, and a lot of us just couldn't let it go, including yourself.
I know, and the thing is that I was working at the Anne Rice collection at the time, so
I remember that afternoon.
I remember when you came. It was marvelous. And I used to see the people from the Garden District tours come in every day, and they were all Anne Rice fans because that was on the tour. So they would whine to me, you know, that they didn't have a party to go to, they couldn't dress up, and I said, okay, let's do it. Let's start the fan club over again. I'll start doing the parties. Give me your name and address and email address, and we'll start it over again.
And it was reborn as
it was reborn.
Les Vampires.
Les Temps de Vampires, you know.
Yes.
So Les Temps de Vampires was born. I didn't know if I had permission from Anne yet to use the names again, but after Katrina, I was totally devastated. I had nothing that I could make the parties with anymore, so I started up the fan club again. I said, we have to have members. I can't do this on my own anymore. So that's why the members came back. As soon as we started again,
so
here it
let's
comes.
just wrap this up. A lot of Anne's fans have felt like she somehow turned her back on them by declaring herself a born-again Christian. Which to me, that's not a surprise, because there was always a very deep-rooted Catholicism in all the books.
Exactly, in all the books, because Lestat was always seeking the good and evil.
And the balance.
And the balance in between.
People forgot he wanted to be a priest.
Exactly, and then he wanted to be an angel.
Yes, because the country squire cannot embarrass his family and become a priest. That's not for them to do.
That's right.
But there was always that in the books, the Christian, the Catholic undertone.
She was always doing that, and when she did her biography herself, you know, she wrote her own biography. She outlined her journey through Lestat all the way through, and then she had as much as she could say about him, you know, or with his voice, you know.
Eventually you reach the end of the road.
And she has, you know, but she still loves him, you know, and she said, just recently, she said that if she would let him, that he would come back.
And he would.
And he would, because all she has to do is just be quiet and let him come back in. And
personally, I think when Stan passed, that something of Lestat just went with him.
Because Stan was her model.
He was the model for Lestat. Anne's late husband Stan, who was, and I will say it now, like I've said for the last 15 years, he was a lion of a man.
Yes,
and he could just stand there and be silent, and it would speak volumes.
Exactly.
And I loved him. Only met the man a couple times, talked to him once at Memnock Ball while he was setting up, and he was Lestat.
Right.
In every way, shape, and form.
And you know, I sat with dinner with them every night, so I knew him. And he was a rock.
Tell us about your New Orleans, the haven for vampires. What is it about this town that you love the most?
Well, I can't tell you. There's so many things I love about New Orleans, you know. And that's why I do the Habitat for Humanity, because I want to rebuild my city. It's still hurting, you know, and it needs so much, you know.
And there are so many houses still going up now.
Right.
And they're not even close to replacing them.
There's lots, and there's weeds, and there's slabs left, you know, the scars of all the houses that used to be there, you know, and all the people that used to be there.
It's really sad. You can actually feel an emptiness in the streets, especially late at night.
That's right. So that's why I do what I do. You know, I want to bring people to New Orleans. I want to show them my city, and I want them to see the beauty that I see.
Yes.
You know, every day I see it.
And there's so much more to New Orleans than just the French Quarter.
Oh, the Garden District.
You should see the Garden District uptown, which is where
Lakeview is
that was
pretty
my old
cool.
neighborhood.
That's where I live.
You know, and Lakeview is excellent, very beautiful part of town.
And you know, it's just the whole city is just beautiful, and that's what I want to share with people. And you see how many people are from out of town.
We all know that Katrina devastated New Orleans. Let's go back before Katrina and tell us how this city has changed over the years, especially in the French Quarter, which to me looks the same.
Actually, the French Quarter does look the same because it didn't get flooded, you know. So
it was the old settlement.
It was on high ground as well as the Garden District, so it didn't get as ruined as the other parts of the city.
And to wrap it up, what lies ahead for our beloved Vampire Lestat Fan Club?
Well, the next year is going to be even better than this.
Yeah.
And this one's pretty good. I think I outdid myself on this one. But next year we're doing the Resurrection Ball, and we're bringing back Memnock the Devil, and I'm going to bring back a lot of things that were before, and they're going to be new again.
Yes.
And, you know, we're going to go from there, you know. And I'm going to invite a lot of writers and filmmakers and comic book writers to come to the city, and maybe a lot of people here will be able to get some more jobs, you know.
One more thing before we wrap up. This has really become the literary event of the Halloween season.
Yes.
And we are more geared towards books, authors, young writers, young minds, fresh ideas. And do you see this trend continuing? Yes,
I do. I think that the people who come here are readers of the books. We read Anne Rice, we read Laurel K. Hamilton, Sherilyn Kenyon, and Charlene Harris, and Gabrielle. You know, so we read all of these different authors. You know, so that's what brings us here. You know, and New Orleans is the new Mecca, the new place for films, and so we want to try to get some of our writers to have films made
especially
in New
with
Orleans.
The new tax credits, especially with the tax credits.
Exactly, and to have our city used as the backdrop.
And it's such a flavorful city with such architecture.
We have the old architecture, we have it, and you can see vampires running the streets at night.
Yes.
Especially in the quarter.
We are the quarter rats.
Okay.
Well, I think that wraps everything up, Sue.
Well, thank
you very much for joining us for Vampyre Lounge.
Thank you so much.